Welcome back, my fellow makers and foam fanatics. A while back, I made a 40K Space Marine helmet. The pattern was from my friend Mellow Mind. And doing the research, I saw these new Marine helmets, the Ultramarine helmets. I thought those were so cool, so of course, I made one. This pattern is available. Click on the link, download it, get your foam, sharpen your blades, and let's build this bad boy together. All right, starting off with our Ultra Space Marine, we have the base helmet. This is part 1, part 2, and part 3. We're gonna be gluing these guys together, and you can see, to save time, I went ahead and pre-cut these out. So I already cut out, and on the tip, I went ahead and took a stone bit and rounded the edge here. So before assembly, we're going to heat curl these first. When heating, I like to use a heat board because if you don't, you will warp your cutting mat. So again, I like to preheat them and curl them just slightly. And I find this really helps put the helmet together when you put a slight curl to all the pieces. When heating, I like to do both sides. Just heats the foam up a lot quicker. There I go. I have a 4.5 inch acrylic dome I like to use and just press it down. Put a slight curl on the top of part 1. Now on the edge right here, you can just bend this by hand. Now for the long strips, I like to heat it up. Both sides again. Now what I'm doing is I'm taking my thumbs and just pushing in as I'm curling upward. Same thing, just kind of bend it like so. All right, now that we have all the helmet base pieces heat curled, we'll go ahead and glue them together. So the right side, we're going to go ahead and glue part 1 to part 2. We're going to start with the inside edge. But if you're impatient like I am, that's why I get a hairdryer. Now I go back through and push, make sure you have good contact. Now we're going to move on to the left side. Okay, both our sides are assembled. We have our centerpiece right here. We're going to go ahead and apply glue on this. We're going to start with the left side first. All right, start with the front, line it up. And again, make sure those registration marks line up. Don't let them get away from you. Got it. Excellent. Now we're going to glue on the right side. Now, being the front of the helmet, that's the part that's going to show, so I want to really focus on that. So again, we line up the edges. I'm going to touch the top edges first. Okay, we got our helmet base done. Let's set this aside. Now we're going to move on to the ear plates 1 and 2, right and left. We're going to start off with heat forming these guys first. We're going to take the heat gun and we're going to heat these guys up and curl them. So as you can see, I went ahead and made a mark. This is literally 1.5 inches from this bottom edge. I'm making a mark. So we're going to heat this area right here. I'm just going to do this and that. Got it. Now we're going to go ahead and proceed to glue part 1 and part 2 and the earpieces together. We're going to start with the left. And what we're going to do is we're going to apply contact cement on the inside lip of ear part 1 and the outside part of ear part 2. All right, now that they're dry, we're going to proceed to glue them together. We're going to start with the left, and there's a registration mark on the top, and this we're going to use to line these guys up, just like that. A little confusing, but the thin part faces the front and the big part faces the back. So it goes on like this. And when you bring it down, just follow the edge, just like that. It wraps in like that. Perfect. Front. Same thing, go nice and flush. Just like that. Perfect. The ear plates are done. We're going to move on to the next step. Now we're going to move on to the back plate. This is the top, and these are the bottom pieces. We're going to put these together, but before we do, I want to heat curl this first. Now this has been heat curled, let's move on to gluing. We're going to glue back ring 1 to back ring 2. Now really quickly, you'll notice something here on the angles. These guys go in, but there's a little bit of a corner sticking out here. So what I'm gonna do, and take your craft knife and just cut them just a little bit, just get them started like this. And just fade out, because we're gonna go back in with a rotary tool and clean it up a little bit, like that. There we go. Now we're just gonna clean this up a little quickly with a stone bit. All right, now we have the back plate all dialed in. Now we're gonna move on to the face plate. We're gonna go ahead and cut these pieces out. So on the eye holes here, we're gonna go ahead and cut these guys up, but the trick is I wanna cut these at a bevel. So let me sharpen this blade up really quick. If you're wondering what this is the Crenshaw sharpener. I'll have links for these below the video. So we're now on this piece, we're gonna cut a bevel. I'm gonna start here, tilting the blade inward, and I can move it back and forth so I can feel the tip touching the table, and then pull toward me like this. And then what I do is I turn around like this while it's still there and kind of get that angle and go a little bit more like this, that, and do the same thing on this side, flip it around, get that cut a little bit deeper like that. For the tight curve like this, I like to use a pen knife. Now again, the same thing, we'll take the pen knife, I'm gonna go right in here at an angle, and as soon as you feel the tip touch the cutting mat, just start cutting slowly. And again, when we reach this point, the blades kind of come at an angle like this. And there, now it'll be all beveled back here, just like that. Now we're gonna move on to these slots. So what we're gonna do is I have a piece of scrap foam we're gonna throw underneath here. And I went ahead and took a piece of brass tubing to put into my drill so I can cut these guys out rather quickly. You get on top of this like this. Boom, like that. Other side. Periodically I have to stop and push the foam out here. Hold on, little foam plugs. There you go. All right, we have the holes cut out. Now we're gonna go ahead and cut these lines between them. I like to start a little bit at the outside. You can see these white lines. I take the craft knife and I put this on the outside edge of the circle right there, and just kind of go, use as a guide and go straight across. Come in and boom. Inside that circle, put your way down, cut that table, and come straight across using the guideline. Nice and careful. See? Pow. All right, they are coming together, looking good. There's a little bit of some unevenness in the back. Kind of see it from the front here. It's driving me crazy. So I'm going to take a stone bit. All right, here we go. We have a taper bit. And what my plan is, I'm going to go back in here and kind of see where the little bumping, I'm going to come in from behind and just clean these guys up just a little bit. All right, these look nice. We're going to go ahead and we're going to heat curl them just slightly, just a little bit on these tops right here. Yep, just like that. Now then, heat curl, we'll go ahead and glue these two together. Okay, the glue is dry. Gonna line them up just like that. Touch that, like that. Excellent. The face shield is done. Let's move on. Okay, we're coming back to the helmet base. The glue's sat long enough to dry, so what I like to do is I let the glue dry at least 45 minutes because we're going to heat this foam up. I want to even everything out. I find the best way to do it is to heat the entire helmet up. Now, while it's hot, I like to kind of shape it up, right, like that. Looks good. Straighten it out. And then hold it in position while it cools. All right, heat forming is done. All right, now the helmet is all shaped up, it's cooled off. We're gonna proceed to glue in inside part 2, and it's gonna go on the bottom edge of the helmet. Now again, you'll see there's a beveled edge to it, like so. The bevel edge goes on the outside, and the flat goes right against this helmet, just like that. And you make sure it goes flush with the bottom edge, like that. And inside lip here. Apply it. The edge, like that. And the bevel side is facing in and facing up. All right, got it. Okay, for our next step is we're going to proceed to start gluing the earpieces onto the helmet. We're going to go ahead and put this helmet on like so, like that. Marker, make a mark where it's going to go, like right here, saying like that. It's going to give me the guidelines for where I'm going to put the glue. We did contact cement, and I'm going to apply the contact cement to the helmet. You can see where I made the marks. Apply that here. I'm going to put it on generously there and here. I'm going to apply glue to the inside edge of this as well. Now, what I'm going to do is apply the glue while it's still wet. And the reason I do this is because it gives me some working time to make sure that the earpiece sits exactly where I want it to. And I pin it like this. Because the glue has such a high vapor content, it will eventually dry. And when it does dry, it's already together and you'll be able to push them together. So we could wait, but I'm very impatient. So I'm gonna get my hairdryer. And you see that gap right there, you just push and it sticks just like that. All right, now we're gonna do the same thing on the right side. Okay, now the ear plates are now so dry. We're going to move on putting the back plate in, this guy right here, and we're gonna proceed to do the same technique. We're going ahead and measure out. This is literally sits about a ½ inch from the bottom. So I'm gonna go ahead and mark that out really quickly. ½ inch. Right there. So that's going to go right there like so. So I'm going to go ahead and let me just pin it in place. Make some marks for my glue. All right, now we're going to use literally the same technique we did before. I'm going to apply contact cement. Pin it. Now we're going to speed this up with a hairdryer. All right, see, now you pull these guys out and we go ahead and push. So where that, watch this, see that where that gap is, you push and it makes contact and it sticks. Looking good. Again, if you guys see these things like this back here, don't panic because the ear shroud covers this. Now let's move on to the next step. Now we're moving on to the inside one. The pieces are set inside the face shield, but what we're gonna do is this is the left and right, and we have some 2mm. Inside detail, and these guys get glued on, and when you glue these guys on, this corner is where it starts on the back edge right there. You see that little corner here? Show you guys. It goes on starting right where that corner starts. It goes like that, and you wrap it and glue it down along this edge like that, and that's how it's gonna go. So we're gonna go ahead and apply contact cement to the left here. All right, fantastic. It's dry. Line it up on the corner right there. Make sure it's nice and flush like that. Just like that. There, excellent. All right, now we got these guys. Let's go ahead I'm going to apply some contact cement to this edge, like so. All right, there it is. Now we're going to apply contact cement inside the edge here. That as well. All right. All right, like this, just like that. You can see it coming together. Now, we're going to take our face shield. See that mark in the front, the registration mark there? So we're going to line this up, and we're going to put this lip right where the eyes, you guys can see really quickly here. Pin that in place, right? And then we're going to place the eye sockets, guys. This comes over here like that. You can see where that rests, just like that, which is good. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this front piece right here, where that bevel is on this piece, that's where it's going to sit right there like that. It's flush. Make sure the bottom edge matches this edge like that. Pin it like that so it stays in place. Other side, come around, same thing. While it's sitting in place, this helps you place where everything needs to go. This is going to sit right here. You'll see that the lip, this sits just over this little red detail piece. This is great. Pin it, got it. All right. So we're going to go ahead and take our white marker. We're going to mark that right back here. This is all we know. We're going to put the glue. Okay. Just like that. Okay, we have our marks. We're going to proceed to take the pin out. So what we're going to do is we're going to apply contact cement to this upper edge. Now we're going to do the same thing on the inside of the helmet. Again, we're just going to do the same thing. We're just going to kind of, while it's still wet, we're going to place everything in place here, like so. Line it up, like so. Pin it. Now I'm going to speed this up a little bit with the hair dryer. Remove the pins. Now push everything in place, makes contacts. Since these guys are in place, we're going to apply the contact cement one side at a time. I'm going to take the tab in the front here, the bevel, this spot right here, applying contact cement to that, like that. Apply contact cement to the edges of our 2mm right there, and then do the edge of the inside of the helmet. Okay, now very carefully, we're going to line, make sure that before you put these guys together, make sure this part lines up first. That's the most important part. Once it's in place, come back and make contact with the edge right there. See, nice and clean. Yep, there it is. Now you can start to see the helmet coming together. We get the face plate in, got the recesses, all looking good. Now for the next step. Okay, now we're going to move on to the Mohawk vent. This sits on the top of the helmet. So we're gonna go ahead and heat this first. Now I'm going to do the inside edge. Okay, the contact cement is dry. Again, the bevel here, lined up. Again, when I'm doing this, I'm always trying to make sure to keep it flush as possible. All right, looking great. You know what I'm going to do this while we have this off before we glue it on? Let's go ahead and take a stone bit. Now that we have our Mohawk all shaped up, we're going to go ahead and place it on the helmet. Now, we pin this in place. Oh, that's nice. It kind of falls right here on these registration marks. So we know for a fact that's where it's going to end. What I'm going to do is I'm going to come right back here and draw a line. I thought it's kind of cool. This is actually a vent, so let's make this a working vent. I'm going to go ahead and cut a section of the foam off the top of the helmet. Like that. All right, so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and apply the glue. Okay, the contact cement is now dry. I'm gonna very carefully line up back here. As you see, I'm using my finger in the front so it doesn't stick down. All right, the vent is down, got it, all right. Now we're gonna move on to the next step. Now we're gonna move on to the ear details. This is the top there's the top and the bottom perfect circles because I use the circle cutter. This thing is the bomb. If you have not got one of these yet, I highly recommend them. Anything involving the circles, this is my go-to. So we're going to start off with beveling the edges on the two pieces. So we're going to use our downdraft table. All right, we use the rotary tool and my sanding drum. All right, there it is. Now we have the bevel on this. Now we're going to take our template right here, our marks. Take the straight edge and we're going to cut into it, but we're going to cut into it up to the bevel, right? All right, now I'm going to push it all the way until it touches the table. Now we have our notches cut out. We're going to glue them onto the plate number 2. We have our 2mm detail piece that sits on top of that. So let's go ahead and glue these guys together. Now the contact cement is dry. Apply them together and make sure we line them up nice and flush. Line them up with the notches. All right, got that. Let's move on to the next step. Now we're going to move on to the mouth vent base detail. This is the inside pieces. These guys, the bevel is where the backside is, and the flat edges here are the front. And these are the detail pieces cut out of 2mm. We're going to apply contact cement, a very thin coat. You don't need a lot for this. Very thin. Set that. These guys aside, let them dry. And this is why I have the cardboard, because I find when working with 2mm foam and stuff like this, it's easier just to take the piece and just brush it right on the cardboard like that. All right, the parts are dry. Now we're going to take them. I like to start with, now granted I eyeball this, but you kind of start with the spacing. You want to do the same spacing from like here to here, so that would go there. So I always kind of start with the same space like that. The space between where I put it down is the same width as the actual strip itself. And come down, same distance between them. Now for the stuff back here, take a knife. And there you go. Okay, these guys are done. Now I'm going to move on to our next step. Now we're moving on to the front hose mount and the hose mount rings. Now with our sharp blade, we're going to cut these guys at an angle. It's going to sit on the helmet from the front, so we want to put a bevel into it. So I'm going to start right here on this edge and start cutting. You know, hold on, I got a better idea. Okay, we have our 1, 2, 3 block. I'm going to raise this up a little bit so I get a better angle on it, just like that. So I can keep on, so cut it down. Got it. Fantastic. Now it's going to have a big, you guys can see like a big wedge like that. Perfect. Glue our hose rings together on the beveled edge right here. Okay, the glue is dry. So I'll put them together like that. Now we're going to glue these rings onto here, but when gluing it on, try to make sure you keep them centered. Just like both the front hose mounts are done. Next step, we got the smaller back detail. We're going to do the same technique. We're going to cut these guys at a bevel. Perfect. All right, we got the main helmet. We're going to move on and take the hose template we have right here, and we're going to put it right here on the edge in the corner, which is designed for. We're going to make our marks for where the hose is going to go. Just like that. Got it. Now, with our sharp penknife, we're going to go ahead and cut the circle. All right, now to the next step. Okay, now we're going to move on to our ear shrouds. We have the right and the left, and we're going to put these in place. And I find the best thing to do is to pin them in place. This part rests right back here and covers up this messiness. There you go, like that. We're going to go and just pin this guy in place. Perfect. And we're going to pin this. And then with our white ballpoint pen. We're gonna make our marks. I'm gonna do the front edge like this, that, and that. That's our edge. And up here, this registration mark, I transfer it over to here, so I know it's gonna fall there. Making marks so we know we're gluing the right spot. So before we get to gluing, let's go ahead and pin on the other side to make sure they match. Look at it from the front, make sure they're symmetrical. All right, everything looks great. Now we're going to remove the pins. Now we're going to apply glue on the beveled edge here and the beveled edge here. All right, and then on the very front of that, like this. And then right on the front. Okay, the contact cement is dry. Let's go ahead and start. Again, now we have our marks. We know exactly where to put it. Just right there. Follow the registration marks we made for our gluing places there. Make contact like that. Perfect. Plant that mark. And then come in. Fantastic. Same thing. Line it up. Get our marks. Like that. There we go. Got it. Okay, now we have the ear shreds out. Our next step is going to put the front hose mounts in place and our mouth vents. So let's tell you what, let's start with the mouth vents first because they sit inside here, and the bevel, you guys can see right here, the bevel edge on that sits facing like that. So it allows it to kind of tuck in right there. Since this guy, you can see right here, it curves a little bit. It's a little square. I'm just gonna a little bit of a triangle into that, just very slightly, not a big one, but like that. Yeah, see, that lets it sit in much. Yeah, let's do that. Apply contact cement. All right, contact cement is dry. Again, come up, make sure we touch that top edge first. Got it. Now the front hose mounts, apply some contact cement to those. Okay, the contact cement is dry. Line it up like so. And then push down. And voila, there we go. Got our hoses, front hose mounts complete, got them stuck in. Now, last but not least, we have our back plugs we put in. Contact cement. Okay, the contact cement is dry. Let's get that. Perfect. And overall, I'm just going to take the stone bit and just kind of clean these guys up a little bit first. Okay, I got all the high points out. Everything's great. Now my favorite, Gap-Filla. What I do is when I have it in there, I take my finger, stick in the water, and this is literally the same kind of technique I used to do with the quick seals. I just take my wet finger and go over this just to smooth it out a little bit. Therefore, when I come back in with the sandpaper, it'll sand a lot easier. Okay, I used the Gap-Filla and I covered all these spots. We're going to take a rapid fill. The rapid fill is another great filler. This is more for the texture of the foam itself. Okay, we got all the trouble spots with the rapid fill. Now we're going to go ahead. Now again, this is the reason why I didn't glue these guys on yet, because I went ahead and covered these up with the rapid fill. All right, everything is dry. We're going to take our sanding sponge. Let's go ahead and glue these on. There we go. All right, when gluing these guys on, the little notches here, this is the front and this is the back. So you just want to line them up, press it, got good contact, looks great. Now our next step is we're going to take this to the spray booth and seal it. Now we're going to seal it with Creature Cast rubber. It's my favorite liquid neoprene rubber. This particular brand here, we're going to use the semi-rigid. It's black. I'm going to apply it with my siphon gun. And when doing that, I like to use a little bit of metal mesh because sometimes you get chunks over the time. Pour it in. There we go. That should do it. You can see that chunks in there. That's why I do that. Now a little bit of our thickening agent. I don't do a lot, just a little drop in there. There you go. It's plenty. Stir it up. We're all filled up and ready to go. We're going to take this to the spray booth and hook this up to a compressor. All right, there it is. It's all dry. I'll let it dry for an entire day. Now that we have it creature cast sealed on it, I put it on heavy enough to where if there's any imperfections, you can still sand it like this. I got a little heavy handed here, a little bit of a drip. So I can take my sanding sponge. Okay, now everything's been sanded, looking good. We're gonna glue on some detail pieces. I have a little skull here I'm gonna glue on. Yeah, right there, looks good. Now, I'm gonna go back here on these guys, and I have these little bit of some cast pieces I really like. Okay, everything is done. We've got pieces glued on now. Great. Now we're going to proceed to take this to the spray booth and we're going to base the entire thing silver. I'm going to use the Dupla Automotive Silver. I like this stuff because it's a little bit more durable. So I'm going to go ahead and take this to the spray booth. All right, there it is. It's all dry now. And I have some R Natural 60 rubber. Again, if you don't have this, it's okay. You can just use rubber latex. So we're going to go ahead. I'm going to do the edges right here. Like that. Okay. I have all my spots, all my chip marks laid out. I think I'm going to mask these off because I realize I'm going to paint this entire thing red. Frog tape, I cut a strip. Go on the edge like this. Yeah. We're going to go ahead and take this to the spray booth. I'm going to be sealing it with the Rust-Oleum 2X Red. This is a particular color is red apple. All right, buddy, there it is. The helmet is now all dry. Now, normally I would like to peel off the rubber on this, but I'm going to try something a little bit different this time. I'm going to go ahead and age everything with the acrylic wash and dirty things up. And then once that's done, I'm going to go back and very carefully just peel the rubber off. I'm going to mix me up an aging. I'm going to like to do a little bit of brown and Mars Black acrylic. All right, I like to start. Let's put some brown in here. Just a dab of black. Put some water. So while that is drying, I'm going to come through with a paper towel and just blot some of the excess. Okay, everything is dry. Now we're going to take some denatured alcohol, apply it to the paper towel, and we're just going to rub off on the highlights, like the parts where I want it to kind of come through. See? All right, I'm really happy with the wiping off the alcohol. We're gonna go ahead and start to remove the latex. So an X-Acto blade. Let's show you guys real quick. Watch this. You peel off. And one of the cool techniques is that, look at that. It's real chipped paint. Look at that. Oh, too, while we're at, let's go ahead and take the tape off of these guys. All right, we got all our chipped metal techniques all done. I'm going to paint this a dark metallic. I like this a lot. So let's go ahead and I'm going to do this with an airbrush. We're going to mask all this off. So I'm going to grab my frog tape and let's start doing that. With our sides all masked off, we're going to go ahead and base this black. All right, let the demasking begin. So they come together. Now, I just realized too, back here, I put latex back here and I totally forgot to peel these guys off. So, and of course, I actually covered these rivets with rubber. So I go, there we go. Excellent. I still want to age these guys, even though it's metal. Let's go like this. Just wipe off the excess so you can kind of see the screws. All right, next thing I'm going to do is I'm going ahead, Even though they're already silver, I'm just going to kind of go back in very carefully with the brush and just do one thin coat. All right, this is looking great. It's coming together. This needs to be gold. So that's what we're going to do next. We're going to go ahead and paint this gold. I'm going to be using, this is Tamiya's gold leaf. So our next step, we're going to go ahead and age them to make them match the rest of the helmet. But we're going to be doing that with oil paint. Okay, I have my oil paints right here. So let's go ahead and set this helmet aside. And I have some burnt sienna. I have some brown and some black. And I like the spatula, and I kind of mix them together. It's a little bit of olive oil. I know I don't have any mineral spirits, which is probably the thing to use, but I get a little bit of oil I put on there and just make it a little bit thinner and kind of mix them together. Okay, now we got this mixed up. Let's apply it. Now my paper towel, a little wipe off. Awesome. Little venting here looks super cool. So let's go ahead and brush between these guys like that. And come in like this. Yeah, looking good. Get that. Let's move on to the ears. I'm trying to put just a little bit, not too much, so when I go to wipe it, I'll fade a little bit. All right, now we do take a paper towel and you wipe off the top parts. Oh, we didn't just realized. Let's dirty these guys up. I did with acrylic paints, but they don't really match the color scheme. So let's do this. Make it look a lot better. These guys are a little bit dark. I'm thinking what I'd like to do is very lightly with some rub and buff. Just want to do these little edges. Yeah, that's decent. I like that. Excellent. Just on the edges here like that. All right, this is fantastic. Everything looks good. We are done with the painting. Now we're going to move on to putting the vents in the front. Of course, I have the vent template. And I have some perforated metal we're going to be using. So what I like to do is take some tape. I'm going to put it on top of the perforated metal like this. Okay, now when we trace this is going to be the left side we're doing right here. All right. And now we're going to get some metal shears. Yeah, of course, when you get this, bend them back out, make it nice and flat. All right, now we got these guys cut out. Let's go ahead and set these aside for now. Here is the clear visor template, and I went ahead and cut out, this is PETG plastic. Now, there's a right and a left. I'm gonna go ahead and peel off the plastic. We have our gold mylar, and this is where they're gonna put the lenses on. I found it's best to cut this a little bigger than you're gonna need it. Sometimes people like to use soapy water. I just use a little bit of window cleaner on it and peel the film off. Before I peel it completely off, because I want to try to minimize getting any kind of dirt or dust on these guys on my lens. Yeah, I'm gonna lay it right down on top of the acrylic. Just like that. And then I have an old plastic credit card. I'm just gonna burnish this down. And what we're gonna do next is we're gonna go ahead and get my heat board like that, and get a hair dryer. Yeah, this makes this like get really soft. I can just kind of push it in with my fingers. There you go. I can see it really grabbing now. That's what I needed. Now what I do is I take the X-Acto blade and I come back here and I follow the edge, trim off the excess. There we go. Now our lenses are done. Now we're going to move on to the face shield hosing. This is a 1-inch plastic hose, flexible. It's straight right now, but what I want to do when it fits the helmet, it comes off the back of the earpiece and goes into the face, and it needs a little bit of a curl. So we're going to do a little heat on that. So we're going to need our heat board for that. We got our like that. Just do a little bit of that. Let it cool. All right, there, it's good. See, just like that. So I'm gonna do the other one. All right, these guys are done. Okay, now that we have the hoses bent, I take a little bit of rub and buff. These are black. I just think it looks cooler and make these pop a little bit. So we're gonna take some rub and buff and just go over these edges like this. I think now is the time to install the parts. So let's do it. We're gonna go ahead and start with the middle vents here. We're gonna put those inside here, I believe. Oh, it's this side. This guy goes here like that, see? Perfect. And we're gonna be putting this in with our shear bonder. And the cool thing about the shear bonder, it is a battery powered shear bonder. I love this thing. You have to deal with cords dragging all the table. So I got my Milwaukee battery in here. Flip it on. Let's heat up this bad boy. Again, great game changer. You can travel and take your hot glue gun with you. There you go. The grill's in. Looks fantastic. The right eye. I'm sorry, the left eye. What it is, I'm going to push it in place. Make sure it falls exactly where I want it to go, like this. We're going to run some hot glue in the top here, like this. We're going to do the top half first. This is where you have to have patience. Okay, now it's cooled off. Now I just run glue on the bottom half. Wow. That's awesome. All right, let's go ahead and do the other one. Now we're going to install the hoses. We're going to just come right back in here like this. And this guy will stuff in here. I mean, stuff it in there like that. Oh, look at that. And there you go. Look at that. Wow. Yes. I say the Ultra Space Marine helmet is done. And there it is. The Ultramarine helmet is now complete. I am digging the gold mylar on the eyes. I am giving this helmet away. How do you enter the win? Really simply hit that thumbs up and leave a comment below with the hashtag Ultramarine helmet. In order to be a winner though, you need to be a subscriber. And I'll be announcing the winner live here on YouTube next Friday, March 4th. Everything I used on this build is listed just below the video. And if you guys don't win, these patterns are available at my shop at eviltedsmith.com. Jump on over there, get the patterns. While you're at it, what also helps me keep making videos is if you guys shop for supplies through my Amazon links. Keeps that machine rolling. And if you guys are digging the 40K universe as much as I am, I got more stuff coming. It's such a great game and such great props and weapons to build from. I can't wait to start building more. Well, everybody, again, thank you so much for hanging out. It was so much fun making this helmet. And don't forget to come back next Friday when we're going to announce the winner right here on Evil Ted Live.